Hello? Hello, testing one, two, three. I'm not even sure if this thing is working right now. Anyway, hello everybody, and welcome to tonight. Hold on, let me fix something. God damn it. I'm sorry, I have my phone and my laptop on at the same time just to track things correctly. So here we are. Welcome to tonight, March 6th, 2025. And yeah, the whole Minecraft movie thing. Oh boy, it has been an interesting few weeks, hasn't it? Oh, and I just want to warn everybody, yes, you will hear stuff in the background. Like I said, family. I'm not alone in this house. We're doing everything in this house. People watching games, people doing other shit. I know it's late, but hey, it's a Saturday night. Everybody's still up. We're still kind of hyped up, and so am I, but whatever. Anyway, this whole Minecraft shit. No, I haven't seen the movie, and I probably won't because I have no interest in it. But one thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, along with a couple of other suggestions that I hope you guys are giving me, I put it out on my Twitter that if you guys had anything you wanted me to bring up, I might be able to talk about it or squeeze it in somehow, segue into it. But as I was saying, yes, this whole Minecraft thing, even though I'm not going to see it, one thing that it made me realize is that at this point in my adulthood, I'm realizing that this is just another one of those moments of kids having their really shitty, so bad it's good movie, and we're just reliving our childhood from a different perspective. That it's wild realizing you're in that position as an adult and realizing that your kids love this stupid shit. But at the same time, even with my hobbies, even with my love for animation and games, I can't get pissed at this. I can't. No matter how bad the movie is, somehow I'm entertained by its stupidity. It's not something like Borderlands where it was so bad, it was horrible to the point where I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is so painful. But I've come to a point in my life where I can just essentially relax and realize that we are living the shit that our parents had to go through. We really are. And I can only just laugh at this point. I can't waste the energy to be mad anymore. But going on to a more serious topic, it made me realize that do kids really have their own thing anymore? Do they? Do they? Because Minecraft, Five Nights at Freddy's, this is their thing. And as stupid as we think it is, seeing it from the perspective of someone else, it makes me realize that we really need to do a better job at getting, just making sure our kids have something for them, something that can entertain them. It's just so wild to me because growing up, we did have our parents' stuff, thankfully. Thankfully, we had a back catalog of stuff. We had both new and old stuff just to indulge in, and that really did help with a lot of creativity for a lot of people. But one of the biggest problems with people who are censoring things now, like censoring Dungeons and Dragons, censoring games, and all this other stuff, when you do that, when you try to censor the past so much, you more or less remove the ability for a new generation to have access to stuff to help them build their creativity. And as a result, we're left in this mire where you ask, is this all kids have? Is all they have brain, as we call it, brain rot stuff? And I'm like, well, if you don't want them to be surrounded by, brain rot, please open up that access to the stuff that we used to have and stop being afraid of it. If you don't want brain rot, stop being scared of the past. When you open up that past, you'll help bolster their creativity for the future. Let me put it like that. I know I'm stumbling over my words. That's kind of how I do it when I talk in real life, but yeah, it's just if you really want brain rot to stop, if you're really that concerned about brain rot, if you're concerned about younger generations having nothing, then we need to stop fearing the past. Fear of the past won't bring a better future. It stunts the future because you don't have a real good foundation of learning from the past to build up that future. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They think that if you just censor the past, things are going to be safe, things are going to be clean, but it doesn't work like that. When you censor too much, kids they seek for other things, and that's how you get all this brain rot shit because they don't have anything else to go back to. They don't have anything else to really ground them, I guess that's a word I could use. And so, as a result, you have people that will exploit the brain rot, and as a result, this is what you get. It's a monster in its own making. That's honestly all I can really say. But like at the same time, I really can't be mad at it because I remember stupid movies that we used to go to that we absolutely adored. Like, for instance, bringing up the Super Mario Brothers movie. Anyone that saw that in the theater, I didn't, but anyone who was there, looking back, yes, it was incredibly stupid. But looking back at it now, it's so bad. It's genuinely good to me. I the history of that movie, the making of that movie, just everything that went into the movie. It has absolutely nothing to do with Mario. At the bare basics, it's absolutely nothing to do with Mario. But at the same time, I'm just fascinatingly connected to it because it's just so absurd. And I feel the Minecraft movie kind of lies in that same category. It's stupid, it's absurd. It doesn't capture the charm, the simplicity, or the, dare I even say, the cuteness of the original game. But I think in 20 years, hopefully, if people get their minds together and stop being such doomers and everything, I bet you in 20 years, people are going to view it as a so bad it's good video game movie. Not as not as infamous as the Mario movie because I think there's just something about how the Mario movie was made and the perfect time it was made that made it so infamous. But this is gonna end up being one of those so bad it's good movies. But like I said, getting back to my thought, we kids love it, kids enjoy it. Stupid movies are gonna come out. Stupid movies are gonna come out, and there has to be a point where we realize we can't waste so much energy being angry if we don't if we're not creating good solutions for it. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, let's go to the chat and see what people are saying. Okay, hello, Buddy Smith. Volume is a bit too low. Huh, okay, let me check this. I told you I got a new mic, but this mic is a I have to be incredibly careful when I handle this mic because if I just move an inch, the cable will just somehow come out and it won't even record what you're hearing now. Isn't that wonderful? This is supposed to be a better professional mic, better than my phone, but it still acts like shit. But whatever. The Boneyard. Hello, hello, Boneyard. Let's see. Let's see on this. Minecraft never interested me, so I don't have any dog in the fight. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like I know about Minecraft. I have friends that are more into Minecraft than I am, and watching their reactions to this, I think that was more entertaining than the movie. Just watching their reactions to everything. And I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the trailers for this movie and saw that Jack Black was in it again, I was like, what the? We just got off the Mario movie and he's in this, but real time. Like pushing away all the stupid political shit and what he said with Tenacious D, being real talk here. I think Jack I think he's okay with roles like this. If you know anything about Jack, he's a big video game dude and including with his music stuff. So even if people like poo poo on his choices for movies like this, I think he actually enjoys doing shit like this. If there's a video game movie, he will gladly like run to the front of the line to be in it because that's just the type of person that he is. And for that, I can't hate him for that. But there are times where you stand back and you have to go, dude, maybe this isn't the right role for you because, yeah, it is really weird seeing just Jack Black as his character in Minecraft. It's just Jack Black. It's just Jack Black in jeans and in that shirt. He let his hair all curly out. It's just Jack Black, but he's like cool with that. It's like, oh my god. It's wild, dude. It's absolutely wild. But yeah, let's see. Checking the chat again. Checking the chat again. Let's see. Let's see. From Buddy Smith. I used to be with that, but then they changed what is was. Now that what I'm with isn't it, and what it seems weird and scary to me, and it'll happen to you too. Yeah, censoring the past to try to protect the future. No, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work at all. Don't do that. It's best to teach the past, of course, and to understand that the past isn't always as good. Like I said, I hate doomerisms, and I hate people who think that the past in of itself is an evil thing when it's not, because that's expecting that nothing bad will happen in the future, and we know it will. But the thing is, the test is if you're strong enough to persevere from that, not just to persevere, but to keep smiling, to keep being happy. And I think that's something that so many people that censor, so many people that are doomers just miss out. They can't think of anything positive, so they have to keep painting everything as negative. And as like I said, as a result, you get these quagmires in so many parts of our lives. And when it happens to arts and entertainment, it's especially depressing because so many people go to arts and entertainment to relieve themselves, to unwind, but to also get inspiration. But if your arts and entertainment are fucked up, your inspiration is gone too. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, which is why I hate when people use politics to hijack art. Art can be political, but it's not by default political by itself. And anyone that tries to argue that it is political by itself, it's a power. Like I said, it's a power move. It's just them trying to get more power, and it's stupid. Okay. I showed my 10-year-old niece The Cat Returns, and now it's her favorite movie. Yeah, you got to do that. You have to, if as adults, we have to be responsible in showing our kids, just things that we enjoyed. And believe it or not, they'll get hooked to it. It doesn't matter if it's old. If it entertains them, it entertains them, and that shows how good and that shows how timeless a lot of things are. And segue going back into Minecraft for a bit, I think Minecraft will always be timeless. It's always going to be timeless in a way, no matter what Hollywood tries to do with it. It's so simple but so strong in its base that anyone from any generation can get into it. And I think that's going to help it live. I think it's going to help extend its lifetime. The movie, not so much. Minecraft and the fans that are playing it, yes. Even with, the troubles that we know have come from a few Minecraft players, but yeah. Um, Anyway, let's see what else is going on in the chat from Buddy Smith. Highly recommend the best movie never made podcast episode on the Mario movie. The script they went through was amazing. I cannot remember. I think I may have watched that episode. I can't remember. Before the 2023 Mario movie came out, I was binging on so many podcasts, so many videos on the history of the original 93 Mario movie. And it was just It was amazing just to see the type of scripts that they were coming out with. It wasn't like anything grand was going to come out from them. Just from the way that they pitched them, we knew it was going to be stupid, but they sounded so wild. I think my favorite one was there was a version where Bowser was feeding Peach candy, but he was being really sneaky about it, and each piece of candy that she ate would make her turn, I guess, into a Koopa version of to or whatever. Yeah, a Koopa version of herself, like Wah Peach, Wah Peach before Wah Peach. No, it was turning her into a Koopa, and she didn't realize it. So I think there was going to be a lot of comedy in her just like enjoying lavishing in these candies and not realizing that she was turning into a Koopa. But Koopa was just like so gooner for her during the the whole process. Remember that Super Mario Wonder ad where Peach turns into an elephant and Bowser's so confused, but at the same time he's like, "Hey, I'll take it." It was kind of like that. It was the movie version of that. But yeah, anyway, going on, I did reach out to a few of my Twitter moots and said that if they had anything they wanted me to talk about during the stream, that they could leave it. No, let's see. Let me find that link again. Uh, be right back in a second, folks. Live streaming and live checking my comments at the same time. It's so great. Okay. Where is it? Okay, darn it. I okay. Why is it missing? I left that. It's so great to come prepared. Okay, anyway, but one person did leave a comment before, and it was concerning French comics, which is, believe it or not, a topic that I have wanted to get into, but I just haven't had the time to talk about it. But yes, I do have a few French comics that I like. They're incredibly basic. It's the usual fare, but on the topic of French comics, I want to spend this moment to gush about Tintin for a moment. I have to. I'm sorry. I have to. Yes, I grew up with Tintin. Ah, that's stupid. Okay, just to be more specific, I grew up with the cartoon. Yes, I watched the cartoon in reruns, and that's how I learned about Tintin. I can tell you, just watching that show back in the day, oh, it was so wonderful. Just so action. It really contrasted off a lot of the other shows I was watching in reruns at the time. But for the love of me, I had no idea that it originated as a comic until I was much older. And when I found out about the comics, I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. And the more that I dug into the Tintin comics, what Herge, I Herge, what Herge used his inspiration to make those comics just got it's really it would just really fascinated me because a lot of those old comics, even a lot of the old animations, they would plug so much of their other hobbies into these to say the least, these comics were often excuses for them to just like go ape shit with their own hobbies because I Hirsch had this love for vehicles and aircrafts that I had no idea existed. And finding out about that and seeing his drawings of all these technical drawings of these planes that he made it drew was it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating seeing all this love and passion that these guys had, not just for their comics, but just for everything they loved. It's being schmaltzy for a moment. It's inspiring. It really is inspiring. And with Tintin, it took me a while to get the comics because by the time that, like I said, by the time I really wanted to get into the comics, the collections were getting kind of shitty in terms of how they collected them. So I had to, so eventually I just had to find other ways to read them. And yeah, I love them. I love the way that I really can't. How can I describe the differences between how Hirsch paced Tintin to like an American comic? it feels a bit, the pacing feels a bit slower, but when he has those grandiose moments of action, it feels more impactful because you're reading something so calm, something that just like sort of guides you into the adventure. It feels like you're reading a mini novel, not exactly a comic, but there's a mini novel that kind of pulls you in and makes your brain let me see, it makes your brain construct everything else around you. At least this is how I'm reading it. And when he has those moments of action, it hits a lot harder because you're gently pushed into his narrative. You're taking in the slow pace. You're taking in his detail with how he drew everything. And then pow, bop, fight scene. And it feels so satisfying even if it's short. And I love that. I love that. I just love the way that he did that. And going back to the animated series years later, when I found out that the way they wrote the original 90s cartoon was almost directly taking word for word from the comic and tracing over his panels and then animating over it, that blew my mind because I never really considered that. I understand adapting a comic from the comic in your own way, but they actually took the panels and traced over them like a layout and filled everything else in. And to me that just felt like being so extra back in the 90s that I love it. And yes, I love the movie. I love the 1010 movie. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on TV actually cuz I skipped it. Of course. I didn't think much of it, but when I finally just sat down to see it, I I didn't know what to expect. Because I didn't know what the plot was, but like having coming off watching the show, reading some of the comics, when I realized what they were adapting and how they adapted, I was pulled in. Yes, the CGI is wonky looking, but I think it did a good enough job capturing how weird the characters, or how simply weird the characters look in the comic, and then translating it to the CGI style. And I know people don't like that Zemeckis motion capture stuff, but I think with something like Tintin where the characters are so exaggerated and so weird looking, I honestly didn't mind it. I kind of wished we would get more of that. Not so much like the the Zemeckis style, but more free to do the cartoonish style with the, because I really love the way that hers drew characters, the way the shapes that he used, the line work that he used. It's so thin but simple but not static. But again, the movie just got me, especially that scene where it's just one camera take where they're going down that gorge trying to capture the stolen parchment, and it's that one simple take. There's no cuts, no jump shots. It's one take. Oh man, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And of course, since it was years after the movie had come out, I was just scrambling to buy anything Tintin related to just to supplement for that. And I got the art book, and it was just okay. I know people hate sequels, but you know what? Fuck it. We need a sequel to that movie, and the fact that we haven't got one is just criminal. I absolutely hate that it's criminal. But yeah, moving on from French comics, I want to get more into French comics. I there are so many there are so many French comics that I cannot believe that I missed out on. I'm honest about this. It's but of course, but most of these comics are old. I had absolutely no idea how old these series were, and when I found out how old they were, it was like it just shocked me because they felt so timeless. But again, that shows you how important timeless things are. I didn't know Hers died in, I believe, the 60s. Let me check again because I get my timing all mixed up. Hers. No, he died in the 80s. Yeah, I didn't know he died in 83. I thought when like I said, when I was a kid, when I saw Tintin the cartoon for the first time, I thought that was new. And I didn't learn until later that the original comics started well before even some of my grandparents were born. That just, it boggles my mind that it's that old, but it's still so timeless. And of course, some of the things that we know now regarding technology and space have like were proven, proved most of his theories wrong. But looking back at it, it's amazing to see what people during Hirsch's era thought the future was going to be. But even with them not knowing, they drew and created what they thought was going to happen. And it's just so amazing, especially when you realize that these were still adults doing this. These were adults showing off their imagination to what they thought the future was going to be, or what they could imagine it being if they added more, science fiction and fantasy to it. It's something we need more of, something we need to appreciate more. Okay, now I'm just rambling off and just going off into like a dreamscape right now. But anyway, let's see, reading the chat again. From The Boneyard, I feel a lot of manga is like that, basically a love letter for a hobby. From Buddy Smith, the library had a bunch of Tintin books, which is how I got into the books. The movie is so great. The movie had the right amount of getting the exaggeration of the comic. I want the sequel so we can get Professor. Yes, Professor Calculus. Oh my God, I. Yes, oh, he would be such a treat in the movie so much. Oh man, we didn't get Professor Calculus. Ballerina is such a great comic. Yoko Tsuno is another good French sci-fi comic. Yeah, I need to get into more French comics, man. And a lot of French artists, they have that perfect balance of epicness and the cheesecake that I like. Cause I'm not gonna deny it, I love cheesecake. And next to manga, the French know how to do it, boy. They know how to draw them some curves, but they also know how to draw them some beef. I ain't gonna hate them on that. We all need it. Let's see. Let's see. Getting back onto the list of somebody else. Oh, somebody asked if I had seen Persepolis. I'm sorry with my pronunciation. I stammer. I stutter. I apologize for that. Persepolis. Blah, blah, blah. Believe it or not, I still have not seen the movie, but I do have the comic, and yes, I love it. I love the comic. I had to buy it for a class, and it ended up being one of those comics where I thought it was just gonna sit on my shelf for the rest of my life because it was an assignment book. But I ended up loving it a lot, especially the first part of the story. It's I have this thing, con- I have this thing with comics, animation about war. I love it and I hate it. I love them because I love the stories that they can tell. The only thing I quote unquote hate about it is sometimes it gets too much, too emotional, and oh man, the breakdowns that I can have. I hate breaking down like that because it just gets too sentimental and too sweet. And Persepolis really felt like that, but that shows you that gives you the testament to the writing strength in it. It's a very touching story. A lot of people talk about Mouse and how that displayed the horrors of the Holocaust, and a man trying to talk to his father about that experience. But I don't think Persepolis gets enough credit that it deserves in terms of like should it be should it be shown to kids or whatnot. I think if I'm gonna be honest, the best age to show a story like that is somebody like that's in middle schools, because that's like it's a really good young adult story. Just to get them to understand what it's like growing up during war times and how it really affects you, not just in childhood, but as you grow into an adult and, experience new things. It's a lot better than I, it's a lot better than a lot of comics that are trying to harness that type of feeling. Because one thing I notice now about about a lot of comics that are trying to do that slice of life, true to life story is they try too hard, especially if it's coming from a fictional perspective. They try too hard to victimize a character for that allegory, if I'm making any sense. And in the end, if they're just trying to sell, if they're trying to manipulate you emotionally through these ideas, you can see it and it becomes really disrespectful, and which is why I hate stories that fake that. But with a story like Persepolis, you can't fake those emotions. You can't fake that, which is why it's such a well told, a well done, a well put together comic that so many people want the prestige of, but they because they miss the point of the story, what it's trying to tell, they can't do it. They can't You can't replicate a life story like that. At least if you're trying to do it selfishly for the sake of getting fame. And I think a lot of comic artists that are trying to push that slice of life, real story, war story type of thing, they miss that. Which, as a result, is why we have so many comics right now that feel so disingenuous when they're talking about things like war or race or anything else that is real to other people. They're telling it from the perspective where they expect you to connect, even though it comes from a hollow place. And yeah, you just can't, you shouldn't try to force stories like that. You really shouldn't. Okay, now checking the chat again. Let's see, from Buddy Smith. Cyber 6, the original Argentinian comic, is way more dark and adult than the cartoon. Boy, boy, let me tell you about that. Okay, I remember when Cyber 6 was running in reruns. I remember some of the ads, and man, even if that show fucked up when they tried to bring it to the states, whoever made the advertisements, they knew how to cut it to make it seem scary as shit. Because one thing that is still in my mind after all these years is they cut it in a way where Jose comes off even more demented and fucked up than he usually is, and it gave the series such a scary vibe, and I hate the fact that I missed it. Oh, eventually I had to take it the One Piece way. I had to pirate the episodes. This was before TMS put it back on YouTube. This was years ago. I had to pirate the entire unedited series, and going back and watching the cartoon, man, that show was dark. It's still kind of goofy because of the way that they formatted it to make it accessible for kids at the time. And the TMS animation, the anime type of animation, it helps in making it seem stylish, but because of how they added some of the editing and the sound effects, it makes it goofy, but I love it. But man, that show was dark, and I loved it. I absolutely loved how the series turned out. It was way too short, too damn short. The ending episode, even though it kind of has like that cliff, that's supposedly satisfying cliffhanger ending, it pissed me off so much because it was the end. But going back, after I saw after I saw the episodes that I pirated, I searched for the comic, and holy shit, that was the darkest crap I had ever seen in my life. I did not expect it to be that damn dark. Oh man, the creation of dang, the creation of Data 7. Oh my god. I don't know which version is more traumatizing, the cartoon version or the comic version, because okay, slight spoilers for Cyber 6. Data 7, the Panther. It he was originally another kid that the lab had made, and Cyber 6 grew up with him. Eventually what happens is he dies. He has a very he fall down and go boom kind of death. And they take his brain and put it in the panther, but there's a difference in how it works in the comic and the show. In the comic, they're playing around. They show him falling. He has the accident and he dies. But the thing that really kind of sells it as horrific is they show his dead body on the table. But I love the way that I love people who know how to use color correctly in comics. We see his body on the table, right? But he was colored black in order to make it look like a shadow. So we couldn't see the body, but we could see a body, and we knew that was a dead kid there. And it's like, holy shit, they act. Even if it was shown in shadow, it's just the implication of the dead child there and realizing what happened to him. Yeah, that's dark. Now in the cartoon, what happened is they have Cyber Six go into a flashback. Yes, they have Cyber Six go into a flashback showing her past, and they show her with Data 7, and they're on this cliff, and Data 7 gives her a flower, and it's like it's an anime moment. It's an anime moment where they're happy, they're just, kids doing something cute. He hands her the flower, and then the dirt under his feet collapse, and we see him falling from the cliff, and it ends. Now, between you and me, which do you think? They're both equally traumatizing because we know what happened. That kid got dead, and they showed it. Yeah, people talk about traumatizing cartoons now. Yeah, fuck all the Steven Universe soft shit. That if you want to traumatize a kid, show a kid dying, but cut it off at the last second before we know what happens. That's how you do that shit. But yeah, Cyber 6, I believe Discotech released the Blu-ray, which is good, but because of the situation concerning the comic, I believe both the creator, the writer, and the artist are they've unfortunately passed. Getting the rights to reprint the comic in full and especially uncensored, because just warning you this, I read the comic, it is not censor friendly, and I'm not talking about like tits or blood or even the Nazi stuff. I'm talking about like the way that they show the Africans and the Japanese characters. Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to be happy with that, but because of that, I think it would be, unless we get like some sort of French imprint or some shit, or like some Latin American imprint that doesn't censor shit, it's probably going to be hell to get that translated and published into a physical copy for English readers. But I would so want it because there is so much that we are missing from that comic. All right, let's see. TMS animation is just so bit of, yes it is, especially with American and with Western properties. We need another TMS. We need another TMS for for Western properties, because man, whatever they did it perfectly. Just look for any animation that TMS did for a Western property, whether it's French, Canadian, United States, even Latin America. Look it up. Just look at what they could do, and it's amazing. I miss that so much. Jose sexually assaulting the one female student was so crazy. It was so shocking they adapted that bit for the cartoon only without this essay. Yeah, Jose was. Whew, Jose, man. I love the little dude as a villain, but man, he'd be crazy. He'd be crazy. And it's especially funny in the cartoon when you know how evil Jose is. They would have episodes end with him just having a goofy cartoon villain defeat. Like the circus episode ends with him being chased with giant crabs that look like Dr. Robotnik made him, and the joke is they keep pinching his butt as he tries to run away. Episodes would end like that sometimes. Sometimes implication is just enough to get the point across. Yep, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You don't have to go all out. Implications work wonders. I want a full ending song so bad from Cyber 6. I think somebody did make a full studio version of the song in better quality, because I know most uploads of the theme song, if it's not attached to the video directly from TMS, the quality is shit. Especially the audio quality is so muffled. Okay, I remember that Mighty Max could get very dark for a kid show sometimes. I barely remember Mighty Max, except for all the jokes people made about it being that it was the boy version of Polly Pocket. I just remember me loving the gigantic dude. His mom was hot, and I think that was it, because I remember seeing reruns in passing, like when it was in syndication long after it had ended, and I remember thinking to myself, why does this kid sound so old? And I think Rob Paulson voiced him, and bless Rob Paulson. I love the dude, but whenever Rob Paulson was tasked to play kids back in the day, unless he actually put in the effort to sound like a child, it sounded so weird hearing adult Rob Paulson's voice coming from a kid. And it still does. He has this not not like when he played PJ, but like when he did his own voice as a kid. It's weird. Okay, I had the little Nemo anime film as a kid. It blew my mind that it was an anime and TMS did the animation. Okay, another history lesson. Yes, I do have both versions of the little Nemo anime. I have the VHS copy and the DVD copy from Discotek. Little history lesson. Apparently, on the VHS version, the VHS print, and I think this was the version that they sent out to theaters. Correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently what people saw in theaters when they saw it in theaters at the time was the edited version, which is wild to me because Discotek returns a lot of the stuff that's missing from the VHS copy, even if it's small incremental little things. With those put back into the movie, it suddenly has a bit more cohesion. Because I don't understand why they did that at all. There's like shit that's like missing, character motivations that are missing, and I know the movie's kind of wonky. It's kind of, if you don't understand the premise of Little Nemo and what exactly is going on, you're not gonna get the movie at all. There's actually one sequence in the film that restored for the DVD version, which is a moment where little Nemo, he's pretending to sleepwalk. The whole thing with him and the pies, because he's pretending to sleepwalk to sneak a pie from his mom. In the VHS and I guess the theatrical version, this was cut, but the reason it's in there is because that sets up Nemo's whole thing where he's always having nightmares, because it was highlighted in the original comics. In the original comics, when he would wake up, his parents would always talk about how he only has these dreams because he's sneaking pies and shit. But in the restored version of the movie, we get confirmation that yes, he has been stealing these pies. And that's why he's been having all these nightmares. But it also goes in with his promise. He kept promising his mother that he wouldn't sneak pies in order to have these nightmares. And he also made the promise to King Morpheus not to let the scepter go into the wrong hands. So it kind of, what's happening in the real world is affecting the dream world, of course. But when they remove that from the VHS version, you lose that context. And even if it's a tiny thing, it doesn't make the movie go from bad to marvelous, but it still removes important context. And I don't understand why they did that. I have a lot of collector VHS and DVDs, and I'm finding that a lot of my VHS copies did that. And I don't understand why. Like, here's another movie segueing to another situation. Filmation's Happily Ever After, which was their sequel to Snow White. I had the VHS copy for years. Even if the movie sucked, it was essentially, they claim it's essentially the movie that sank Filmation, the one that made them go bankrupt. I had the VHS copy for years. My my grandfather, bless his heart. Let's give a shout out to our grandparents. He would rent that for me all the time to the point where I think I was the only kid in the entire neighborhood because this was from a local video store that still had VHSs and DVDs. I think I was the only girl in the neighborhood that actually rented that movie because when they closed down, I bought it and they were like, "Oh yeah, you finally bought it." So they knew me so well. But anyway, getting back to the point, I got the VHS to keep it. And suddenly whoever had Filmation's library at the time, they released a lot of their stuff on DVD, and I still have that DVD collection. The DVD transfer of Happily Ever After is fantastic, by the way. I don't know what they did to clean up the cells. It looks fantastic, and the sound, oh my god, the sound is just, it's like butter. But anyway, when I was looking at it, they restored all the shit that was taken out from the VHS copy because that movie is surprisingly dark too. There's like lots of moments where the prince is like shooting arrows at the villain and blood is going everywhere. But in the VH copy, it's cut. It's like, and it makes the animation look worse than it is because, the whole joke is that Filmation was a bad animation studio, blah blah blah. And if you look at the VHS copy of Happily Ever After, it looks like that because there are moments where there's sudden quick jumps, sudden quick cuts that make no sense. Animation is replayed in reverse in a lot of shots, and it looks bad, right? It looks unprofessional, and you think to yourself, "Oh, this is because of Filmation." But then you look at the DVD and none of that is there. And that's because all those bad animation parts from the VHS copies were censors. They were edits. And I don't know why they did that. It's completely stupid. But yeah, and the best part about it is one of the censors is towards the end of the movie where Lord Malice has Snow White. Snow White beats the living shit out of that man and they edit it. And so do the Dwarfels. The Dwarfels beat his ass. Yet in the VHS version, they quickly cut it so we don't see them beating up Lord Malice. But in the DVD version, Muddy is punching his face in because she's pissed off that they kidnapped Snow White. And there's a point where Snow White is just like thrashing at Lord Mouse and she actually slaps him, but they cut that out. It's like, why did you cut that out? And so anyway, just to put it, Snow White Happily Ever After is a better movie than Snow White 2025. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Looking back at the chat, I have a, I have the DVD too and the VHS somewhere. I noticed the DVD has some extra scenes that I never saw. Dreamlight Pictures, I think, did the dub, which explains some of the cuts. If you're talking about Little Nemo, I don't know if it was streamlined because from what I remember, it was Humdale or Humdale. Hum, Hold on, let me look this up. Humdale Entertainment? Humdale Entertainment. No? Hold on. I can't remember if it was Streamlines, but I will tell you it was the same company that did the edit for The Magnificent Voyage or whatever that movie with Christopher Columbus was. It was them. They were the ones that cut Little Nemo for VHS in theaters too. So, and they cut a lot of things from that other movie. So yeah, it was just them. It was just a bad. It was just a bad. It was just a bad distribution company. That's all I can say. Streaming Studio that did the original Akira. Yeah, and I have Akira. I have Akira too. I have both the Akira VHS and the DVD. Yeah, but the thing is once you realize that if it's the same company, they didn't edit Akira, which is odd. They edit Little Nemo, but Akira is 100% in its, oh god, in all its glory. Oh, the first time I watched Akira from the original Orion print, I was in my room. It was like midnight. I turned off all the lights because I had to see what this movie was everybody was talking about. And when I finally saw it, I was like, "Holy shit, I didn't expect that." It was I can understand why it's such a milestone in terms of anime movies because I did not expect anything. And people talk about the bike slide all the time. No one talks about the fucking gang attack with Tetsuo and Kaori before Tetsuo even gets transferred back to the hospital. That scene, what they did to Kaori during that whole thing, that I was in my god, I think I was 21, believe it or not, when I first saw that on VHS. And when that happened, I was like, holy shit, because I did not expect them to go that far with what they did. And it's not just that they t- did what they did with her shirt. They punched her in the face. And that was just like, damn, what the fuck? And it was like, yeah, this is hardcore because there are certain things that you don't do or don't expect, and that was one of them. But still, yeah, the Akira's just bombing, man. The funniest thing to me is that the original version has fucking Leonardo as fucking I'm not te- yeah, fucking Canada. Canada. Oh my god. It's just like I did not expect him to expect that voice to come out of the original. But anyway, moving on, checking the chat. Oh god, the magic void, that explains so much. Yeah, it does. It does. I'm not going to go into my viewing of that movie, but that was painful. Oh god. My first adult anime was when my dad showed me Ninja Scroll. I'm gonna I'm gonna say it. None of my family I that I know of were anime fans until me, so I had to look up my own adult anime shit. I can't remember the first quote unquote real adult anime that I saw. I'm not gonna put Akira in it because even though Akira is a mature anime, I don't really consider it an adult anime. Which I mean is more gratuitous. Uh, dang, I really can't pinpoint what I would call my first adult anime. I mean, the closest I can get in terms of like being more mature, I mean gratuitously mature in terms of like showing more tits and ass just for the humor of it. I would have to say it would be Air Gear, but Air Gear is an etchy. It's not a hentai. It's not even going that far in terms of the anime. I felt the anime was much more restrained restrained than the manga, and I have the whole manga collection. I love Air Gear. Air Gear is nothing but boobies and skates, and I love it. But that shows you what kind of taste I have. It makes absolutely no sense. Rules just change at a whim, and it's just made to make rollerblading look cool. But I absolutely love it. Hello, I'm super late. Don't worry about it. I mean, we're all late. Bakity Grappler was another one I was exposed to. Yeah, no, well, no, I saw Air Gear first. Yeah, I saw Baki came after Air Gear for me. And even then, that was like the super early Baki where he looked more cute. Because if you look at the older Baki manga, he's more boyish. He's more boyish looking. He doesn't have that perpetual angered look on his face, but he's still cute because that was the point. He was like the boyish mountain. And even then, I wouldn't really say that was adult. I mean, it's mature, but it has its tone. It works for its tone. That's the thing. That's the thing with a lot of adult anime that people don't seem to get, especially if they're not into anime themselves. With adult anime, they usually find a way, adult series, they usually find a way to make the mature theme work with the theme of the story. And as a result, you'll get mixed results of what is quote unquote adult and what is mature. because you can have a manga that's made for adults that does have that, has the tits and ass, but they don't show it incredibly gratuitously. They show it in a way that is for adults. And so there's more respect to that. And then you have the more jokey hentai way, or the jokey etchy way, which is more, which is just showing it in a gratuitous way, but in a way that's supposed to be the joke. And I get that. And that's why I appreciate it. And that's why I'm not bothered by it, because I know that's the joke. And with the joke, you can take it as far as you. And let me just put it like that, because there's cultural differences, of course. But I sense that a lot of people, a lot of manga artists, they do know where that line is. So they know where to have dance along it, but they know not to cross it. And I think a few Western readers don't get that. They just assume that the manga artist is a terrible person because they know how to skate the line, but that the creator actually does have a conscience, and they know when not to go too far, but they know because of the way that the culture is, they have that freedom to, they have that freedom to more or less just troll people with how many tits they can show before it gets too much. Okay, Grab, let's see. Any Senna, Air Gear's fun. My brother has all the manga volume. I'm still trying to get the whole collection of Air Gear. I'm almost there. I'm almost to the end. I have one of my volumes is really weird because it was during that one period where they tried to three pack the books into one. So one of my books, and ironically, it's my favorite three issue, favorite three books, favorite three collections from the series. It's the one where Om finally shows up. But yeah, it's that weird period where they try to make three in one book. So within my collection, there is just this one book. There's one book in my Air Gear collection that's just this massive, ungodly thick volume, which is just three books in one. And I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm not even gonna replace it with the proper volumes because that's just the way that I've had it for years. But I am gonna finish Air Gear. I'm trying to finish the whole collection up because it's not that long in terms of other manga, so I might as well finish it. And I don't have that many volumes to go anyway. All right. Let's see. Late as well. Don't worry about it. Screw for ahead. We're just rambling and talking about adult manga and all this other stuff. Let's see. What other topic did I had? The importance of underground class. Yeah, this was going back to my first topic concerning Minecraft, because apparently it's doing quite well despite people not really, thinking that it's kind of sucky. But so far from my moots, I'm seeing sort of a 50-50 balance on it. A lot of people enjoy it for what it is, a lot of people hate it, but I think one of the things people are kind of over worrying about is Minecraft making money over the Looney Tune movie that is currently out right now, The Day the Earth Blew Up. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I don't think you should really be worrying about that, because The Day the Earth Blew Up, like I said in my last stream, it did a lot better than what people were expecting. It's still crawling in terms to make its money back, and I expect that, but people forget that The Day the Earth Blew Up was essentially buried. So the only advertisement that it had is word of mouth, some crazy people online talking about it, and of course the irony of it playing along with Snow White, but being another option for people who didn't want to see Snow White. I think that helped it a lot too. But I think people are worrying about it when they really don't need to. It's not going to make The Day the Earth Blew Up, I mean, is not going to make money over Minecraft. It's not, and I didn't expect it to. Minecraft already has such a massive fan base, and it had all the advertisement that it could want to get people to know that it's coming out. So of course it's gonna win. So that shouldn't be your worry at all. You shouldn't worry about it at all, because like I said, I think The day the Earth blew up, and when Coyote versus Acme finally comes out, they're going to be underground classics. And people need to understand the importance of underground classics. When something is an underground classic, even if it failed initially, it's going to have that lasting impact because there are going to be people, whether the fandom is quiet or not, that's going to keep its legacy alive. This happened with a lot of movies. Well, in the past, whatever, like in the past through multiple generations, a lot of movies that we talk about and revere now were failures. A lot of them were. Like, going back to classic Disney, people talk about Pinocchio. Pinocchio was a failure, believe it or not. It was technically a financial failure for Disney, and so was Fantasia. But both of those movies became classics, and how? Mostly due to people loving them, and thanks in part to VHS, which was the thing that saved Fantasia. Fantasia got its second win thanks in part to VHS. When I was a kid growing up, my aunt, and of course, bless her heart too, lovely lady. She's the one that got me into all the classic Disney stuff, and her collection is still growing. But she's the one that got me into Disney classics, and she's the one that owned Fantasia, and I loved Fantasia. But as a kid growing up, I never would have guessed that Fantasia was a bomb because as a kid, that's all me and my friends wanted to watch was nothing but Fantasia. We loved the music, we loved the animation. To us, it was the greatest thing on earth, but we would have never guessed that it did so badly in theaters when it came out. But that's the power of underground classics. You may not make it initially, but over time, when people look at your stuff and just see the value that's there, they'll love it, they'll give strength to it, and it'll become a classic. And I think that's what's going to happen with The Day the Earth Blew Up. It's it not making tons of money now, even with the uncertainty of the American animation industry right now, it not making money now. I think I think we're too focused on that. We're too focused on it not making money this minute because I remember people being upset on the Thursday night that it premiered that it was unpacked. I'm like, it's Thursday night. A lot of people don't know that this movie exists. You're giving up way too soon. And on top of that, you're putting a responsibility on a bunch of people who don't know that this movie exists as if it's their fault. And it's not, that's not fair. That's not fair. But people have been so hyped up and worried, just too wound up about things that they don't know how to strategize to build strength to something that they want to succeed. And seriously, like I said, going out to see Coyote, not Coyote, going out to see the day the Earth blew up is what saved Coyote versus Acme. Not being a complete fucktard on Twitter, that didn't help. That didn't help anything. That, if anything, that only made cartoon fans look even more stupid to outsiders. And I know I always talk about not caring what outsiders think, but that whole display for Coyote versus Acme prior to it getting the green light to be released was utterly, it was bad. That whole display was bad. And like I said, it took people just calming the fuck down and going to see the day the earth blew up to get Coyote versus Acme out. And that shows you which strategies work and which don't. Bitching like a little petulant child on Twitter doesn't work. Putting your feet on the ground and showing your power through, tickets, through your wallet, that's how you get shit done. And it got shit done. But still, I think The Day the Earth Blew Up and Coyote versus Acme they're going to become underground classics, and they're going to help build something new. Because I told my friend this. I told a buddy from the UK this. Even if even if The Day the Earth Blew Up doesn't make gangbusters, people in studios are going to notice. if you see a rise in 2D animation, especially 2D animation that looks smooth, it's going to be thanks to these Looney Tune movies because that's going to start a new trend. It's like what happened after Spider-Verse came out, because notice that after Spider-Verse came out, everyone was doing the slow choppy frames per second look, even though it had been done before. But notice the incredible blow up of other movies doing that after Spider-Verse got popular. I see something similar happening because of these Looney Tune movies, because they're offering something new, or at least something refreshing. Because to us old heads, this isn't new. This is just basic shit to us. But I think studios are going to catch on. They're going to emulate it. So in the future, we may see more 2D animated stuff, especially since it's cost efficient. Because look at how much this movie cost, and look at how damn good it looked. We're gonna see some changes. We are. So at the same time, that's why I keep saying don't get yourself so paranoid. Yes, things are rocky. Things are always going to be rocky. But what you can't do is you can't give up. You can't give up. And I see way too many people doing that. I see way too many people giving up. I see way too many people telling each other to give up. I see people giving out just bad advice on how to cope or rebuild that doesn't really make any sense, that doesn't really offer a lot of freedom. So, even with the uncertainty that is ahead for a lot of people, I would not be such a downer that it mentally stunts your ability to create, because that's, to me, that's awful. And I maybe this is just my maternal instincts coming out, but I really wish people would stop doing this, especially to younger kids, because they feel that. They feel that when adults are discouraged, kids get discouraged. And we just, it's why, I'm so dedicated. That's why I'm so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's why I'm so hopped up on trying to get some positivity going, because we all need it. Not just kids need positivity, adults need positivity right now. Everybody needs some sort of escape and enjoyment, because once we have that, that's where we build up our strength. That's where we help each other. That's how we get through times like this. But if we're constantly shown nothing but things that are negative, things that divide us, that's how we get situations like this. That's how we get situations where people have no hope for the future, because they're constantly told there is no future. There is no one to tell them that yes, things can and will get better, but we have to work together. We have to stop dividing each other. We have to stop fighting each other. And like I said, it is politics. Politics is poisoning everything, and I know it's a necessary point of life, but when you put that in everything, like what we're doing right now, that's how we get a situation like this. And it's just sad to me. It's just sad. But okay, looking at the chat. Uh okay. Day the Earth blew up doing well must have given Ketchup Entertainment the go ahead to in getting Kylie Week versus Acme out. Yeah, it did. It did. It did. Song of the South didn't get that same second win, sadly. I finally saw Song of the South, and I'm honestly gonna say that even though I know it's dated, I know the implications are passe, but it's honestly a movie that does. I don't get the infamy they put on it is completely artificial, because if you look at certain movies that came out in the same time, it's nothing new at all. I get I get the point that people probably want to hide it because it looks like it tarnishes Disney's look, but if you're going to do that, then get mad at any other animation studio at the time that did the same thing. because compared to other depictions of black people during that era, there are so many cartoons that are worse. The what was it, the censored 11, they depict black characters worse than they did in Song of the South physically, in like in terms of animation style. Yet we're able to access those because Warner realized that there's no point in trying to hide them. They admitted the past, said it was problematic. No, I hate using the word said it was a moment of their time, but they're not going to hide it because there's no reason to hide it. And it's the same thing with Song of the South. I don't think Song of the South should be hid the way that it is. If anything, I think it should be released, but it should be released in a way that highlights that it came from the era that it did. But if you're going to act so immature about it, then you really don't have the maturity to watch any movie from that era. And I'm talking like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. If you cannot maturely handle Song of the South, then I don't know how you could watch things like Gone with the Wind or other movies from that era that depicted black characters in the same sort of like subjugated, not subjugated, like, well, yeah, subjugated servitude uh depictions, because Song of the South wasn't new. It's not even the first movie that did that. Like I told a friend, I think the biggest problem with Song of the South is that it's overly long. The live action parts drag on for so long, to the point where I was begging for the animated portions to come up. And the animation portions are the best parts. Yes, it's some of the best animation they've had during that era. And the actor, it's like, believe it or not, it's mostly an all black cast in there for the actors. And yeah, they did a damn good job. I was shocked at that's their how their acting range for those characters. That actually got me. I was like, dang, they actually know how to do it smoothly. It's like, damn, okay. But like I said, it's just it's an it's something that I wish people didn't dramatize as much as they have, because in the end it's not worth getting as pissed off as people have tried to make people pissed off about it. Because looking back at it now, it's not worth getting that pissed off over a movie that old. But going back to what I was saying, the reason I think, well, one of the other reasons that I know people had issues with Song of the South at the time it came out, the depictions that it showed were already passe. It came out it came out after Gone with the Wind, but also okay, it came out in, where's my, no, hold on. It came out mostly almost a year after World War II ended. So by the time people were in that, the mentality of that, Song of the South would have been just so out of touch, because you've had a lot of um, black military people coming back, and times were changing, attitudes were changing. So just imagine you got back from the war and you saw that, and yeah, it's really out of touch, and you can understand why people wouldn't, gravitate to it, because it was kind of late. Looking back at it, the best way that Disney could have presented it is if he cut out the live action parts, like the live action story segment. He could have like presented Uncle Remus and the kids in a different way, and still had that go around where Uncle Remus is telling them the stories about Brer Rabbit. But like I said, it's all in hindsight. Okay, let's see. Looking back at the comments, Hell, Alice in Wonderland technically bombed, and looked at the reception nowadays of class. Yeah, it's people absolutely love Alice in Wonderland, and I kind of I think it kind of helps in general that that story is so widely loved in general. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It's in public domain that anyone can do anything with it. But because of that, it's just so beloved and just so weird. I love Alice in Wonderland. It's a simple children's story. Who know People argue what the themes are about it all the time. Who knows what it's means to be? It's just nonsense, but it's just such a fun little story, and all the little bits in it you can just apply to so many different things. It's stories like that become timeless, and stories like that we should keep and treasure because they just inspire us in weird ways. Let's see. Ankle biting doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work because you bite the ankle, you get kicked. Let's see. Most of the WD's animated films were underground classic. Cats Don't Dance come to mind. Cats Don't Dance was great. I I saw that late. I didn't get to see that in theaters because I wasn't around back then. But it was I didn't know back then. But when I finally did see it on DVD, I understood why people saw it as such a classic. It's the thing that surprised me was the pacing of it because the the previews didn't prepare you for it. The pacing of it is so, how can I put it, so chaotic, so energetic. I didn't expect Don't Dance to be such an energetic movie, and I love it for that. The music is wonderful, the animation is wonderful. It's such a fun little quirky movie. It's like it's Zootopia before Zootopia, but with also a human element to it. And Darla Dimple, best animated villain ever. Just simply love the way that she's designed her actions. She's completely evil. And I want to ask this because I just realized this a couple of months ago. Was the whole little the action sequence where she tries to kill the kids, not the kids, try to kill the animals during the Ark event, was that one big reference to the Noah's Ark filming tragedy that actually did happen? Because if it is, this movie just got 100% more dark. If you know anything about the history of the filming of Noah's Ark, just know that people died during that. People really did die during the making of that movie, and if that's what that whole scene was referencing, it's just like, damn, you knew how to land it hard. Okay, let's see. You can blame certain groups lying about Song of the South was about. Yeah, yeah. I mean, getting into it, it's like I want to ask for the people like the certain loudmouths that complain about Song of the South. I wonder if they love Gone with the Wind. I wonder if they have zero problem with Gone with the Wind, because if they don't, I mean, oh man, it would be hilarious. Bear Fox's voice is so good, almost sounds like Eddie Murphy. And if I am correct, the person who voiced Brer Fox was Uncle Remus. Let me check. Blah, 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 blah. Brer Fox's voice. Let me check. Yeah, it was James Basket who was Uncle Remus. He played Brer Fox, and listening to both their tones, it's like it's two completely different characters, and he was able to transition between both of them so well. I didn't know it was him. And let's see. Yeah, so it was a reference to the Noah's Ark tragedy. Yeah, it wow, that movie was dark. That movie was dark in ways I never expected. Okay, let's see. But yeah, underground classics are important. They are important because build, they help, whether people want to admit it or not, underground classics do help younger creators or unknown creators, regardless of their age, build up their stuff. It helps them build and learn. And even if it's unknown now, some in the future it will be appreciated because um bringing up a really weird game version of that, Sonic Mania. Two underground classics in that, both Mighty Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel. If you did not know about Sega Sonic Arcade or Knuckles Chaotix, you would have no idea that those two characters are old as shit. But growing up, I learned about Knuckles Chaotix long after the game came out. By the time I learned about it, the 32X was already dead by the time I found out about the game. And mostly I learned about the Chaotix, the original team, not the Heroes version, through the Archie comic. And I fell in love with the characters, especially Mighty the Armadillo, because I love big, strong characters like that, especially ones that are very playful and just warm. I love characters like that, and I fell in love with Mighty the Armadillo. I learned more about the Chaos game through him. I learned about all this stuff, but it was during a time when there was absolutely no chaotic shit going on except for the hero stuff, and Mighty wasn't in that. I would have never thought that because of such love for the original Chaotix that Sega would eventually allow Mania to bring Mighty and Ray back into the zeitgeist of the Sonic fandom. And because of this, I'm surrounded by Mighty fans and by Mighty merch now that I never would have imagined I would have gotten as a kid. But because of the underground love for all this shit, I finally have that Mighty plushie that I wanted as a kid because of this. And I absolutely love it. That's the importance of fandom and the strength of fandom that I think so many companies, or at least so many people, have just forgotten. Just think fun things like this. They think fandom is all toxic and nasty, and it's like, no, you just have to meet the right people, and you'll see that where their dedication and where that passion comes from, and it's all fun. It's all fun. That's all that fandom wants to do. That's all anybody wants to do. They just want to have fun and enjoy that. And if you're a creative person, if you love to draw, if you love to write, if you love to make music for the stuff, it's even better because you can make so much. And I don't think people understand how people always talk about, like, they want these new movies to, like, inspire people, but they mean that on a racial point. Like, they think that's the only thing that's important, but they don't understand that you can inspire anyone creatively regardless of that. Because I'm going to be 100% honest, even with the diversity, I the quote unquote diversity, with the stuff we had in the past, even if I watched something that that just had like white or Japanese characters as their main cast, I took that and it inspired me to make stuff with black cast. I didn't it Even if the stuff that I watched didn't have characters that looked like me, it inspired me to make stuff with characters that looked like me. And people don't get that. People think that everything has to look like you in order to inspire you, when that's not the point. Because most of the time, I didn't like a lot of the ways that black characters are often portrayed in some of the shows I like, because most of the girls were always very shitty and bitchy. Like, most of the the biggest trope I hate with black female characters was when they make them loud and bitchy. I absolutely hate that. So I took that and decided to make a black character with different personalities, with a whole array of personalities, because you can't and shouldn't cap a race or a gender with one personality. But people right now are doing exactly that and thinking that it's empowering. It's not. If you believe that you can only depict certain characters in one way, then no, you're not only are you not creative, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. And that's why so many of these so-called quote unquote fixed and safe shit is failing, because it's just bad. It's even I'm just going to go out and say it. Okay, people complain that depictions of non-white characters or whatever in old films were bad because it was stuck in one way. They're doing the exact same shit now and are just too egotistical to notice it because it's their way. they're just creating more stereotypes despite saying that, oh, we're showing more diversity and freedom. No, you're not. The characters are still acting the goddamn same way. It's just you, and you're stopping others from doing more variety, so fuck off. Okay, Cybercop. Oh god. Everybody, Rugal B98 is in the chat. Holy shit, didn't expect that, boy. Oh my god. Yo Bunny long time. Yep, that's my old nickname. Um let me see. Yo Bunny long time. Let me check back because I have a lot of stuff to look up back in the chat. For me, it was a Knuckles comic. Uh the Archie one? I'm talking to Bruegel. The Archie comics, yes, I still have my Archie comics. Okay, I loved Mighty and Ray coming back mostly because I read the Archie comics. Yeah, I love how much that people are saying, admitting that they were introduced to Mighty and Ray thanks to the Archie comics, which shows the strength of the Archie comics. Yeah, they brought them back. So there you go. Let's see. Love those Sonic Mania shorts. Yep, the Mighty and Ray one was so cute. Also the Keith the Spirits, Keith Curry commercials. Ah, crap. That's how I am with SNK games. Sassy black woman. So many characters were put into that role. Yeah, it's. Uh, I think people have forgotten that you can do sassy in so many different ways, but they just like how can I? They pigeonholed what sass means, and as a result, you just get the same character over and over again. You can predict how they're going to act, how they're going to talk, because it's just the same character over and over again, which is why it's so refreshing. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. When I watched Motor City for the first time, Claire became one of my favorite characters of the entire series. Even though a lot of people would argue that she's like the token black chick, when I don't think she is. I absolutely love Claire and how she acts, her character, just the way that her character works in the entire series too. I love that she's a flighty little girly girl who just likes, who cares more about appearance sometimes, but she's still so dedicated and loyal to both the Burners, but also Claire, because not Claire, I mean Julie, because she knows she's the only. I don't think anyone actually picked this up in the entire series. Claire is the only one in the entire series that knows the truth about both sides. She knows that who Julie really is, and she knows who the Burners really are. But she's so loyal. She knows she keeps it secret to both. Yet nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that important role she has in the entire series, even though she's not a burner. She's like, how can I put her? She's like, if anything, she's like the guardian angel of the entire series because, like I said, she knows about Julie's secret, she knows about the burner secret, and she's keeping both of them safe to ensure that nothing happens between both of them. So let's see. Okay, getting back to the chat. I don't mind creating. Sadly, student loan debt diverted my focus to working. I mean, we've all we all feel it. We all feel it. You just gotta find a way to sneak it in. I really want Sega to throw us a bone and do some reprints of the Archie comics. Aw, man. Who knows if that's actually gonna happen, because with the whole issue with Ken, the whole crazy thing with his lawsuit, I honestly wish there were a way, and I think legally there is a way, but it would involve a situation that I don't want to say here on the stream because that's getting too doom, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to think about that. I mean, Ken's crazy, but let him live his life as it is right now. Let me just put it like that. But no, getting on a little tangent about the Archie comics. Growing up with the Archie comics, even up until the end, I know they were crazy, and I know Ken went off the deep end to the point there. and Rugal knows what I'm talking about. There are points where even I will come out and say this shit sucks. There are a lot of shit that we made fun of constantly with the Archie comics and their questionable story ideas. But regarding Ken and his writing style, I mean, I'm gonna admit it. Like a lot of the back issues that I had to get after that after they came out, I like them. I There are a lot of stories in the older Archie series, even the Knuckles series, that I legitimately do love, and I think that's because he was willing to bring the Chaotix back as a team within the Knuckles comic, and I give him props for that because if he hadn't done that, the Chaotix, as we know of, would have just been buried. They would have just been forgotten until Sega brought them back for Heroes Sans Mighty. But I'll be honest, there are a lot of things that I do enjoy from the Archie comics from that earlier era that he, or I don't know if he did all the choices for like the characters characterization of the Chaotix during that era, but I honestly did enjoy it. I like that he kept Mighty like the sort of gentle giant of the series. I liked how he made Vector abrasive. This was before Detective Vector. He made Vector abrasive, but kind of like he was the one that wanted to be. It felt like he wanted to be second in command of the Chaotix, but he was goofy but still a dedicated fighter. I like how SBO was the serious one. One thing I will give whoever made this choice of, I don't know if it was Ken, I don't know if it was another writer, but I liked how they made Charmy be instead of making him a little kid, they made him a teenager and made him sort of like the if SBO were like the mature one in a dark sense, Charmy was the mature one in a more positive sense. And I kind of got that air off of him, and I liked that. I liked how he was the calm mind within this group of rowdy teenagers. But he's so tiny and small, you kind of like it. It was the joke that he was the smallest one, yet he was the most mature, and I liked whoever came up with that idea because it worked. It worked well as a dynamic. But yeah, let's see. Getting back, Ash. Oh yeah, Ash the mongoose. Let's see. Motor City was such a gem. Yeah, it was. It was a gem. It was one of those series that I had to watch a few times to get into because I remember when it came out, I didn't take it seriously. But watching reruns of it before it officially ended, I loved it. It's a shame that it was canceled so soon. How can I cuck Sonic? Ash, yeah, King created the character. Yeah, I know Ash the monks. Ash sucked. And what became of Elias? Yeah, Sally's brother. I agree. Ken's writing makes more sense to me now after reading a lot of his older Marvel comics and now knowing that was what he was trying to write like. Yeah. Or Jeffrey St. John. Archie Mighty, I like a lot more than Fleetway Mighty as a sucker. I didn't mind Fleetway Mighty. I didn't mind him either because I didn't. I only was able to read the Fleetway comics via rescans online, but I didn't mind Fleetway Mighty at all. He's a lot rougher, but I didn't mind it. Teen Charmy works a bit better. Fleetway Sonic, they borrowed Charmy being older and a prince. Yeah, and it worked. I like that dynamic because I know everyone's gonna complain like, oh, that's not biologically correct. But whatever. But no, I like the idea of Charmy being a prince that ran away but still had that sort of like maturity yet needless positivity to him because like I said it worked well with the dynamic. And there's probably no way that Sega's gonna try to reboot that again. So yeah, that's something we're only gonna get in fan comics. No way that Sega's gonna redo like the dynamic and characterizations of of Team Chaotix again. No way they would do that. I wouldn't even blame them because that's too much. Let's see. I always figured that Charmy, while a teen, was a bit younger still from the Chaotix. It depends on what source you look at because apparently the English version of the Chaotix manual was an error, and depending on who you ask, Charmy was supposed to be a kid like Tails' age originally, but misprint, and the English version of the Chaotix manual had him as 16, which would probably make him one of the oldest, because I think this is going from memory. I'm not checking anything, and I'm doing it from the 95 Chaotix, not the Team Chaotix now. I think, racking my brain here, SBO was the oldest at 17, because I don't think any of the Chaotix during that era broke like 18 years old. They're all still like young teenagers, but Charmy was supposed to be one of the oldest, and because of that, it, like I said, it worked with the dynamic of the idea that he's one of the oldest characters in the group, yet he's the one that acts mature, the most mature, despite being so tiny. And it was funny. It was funny, and I miss stuff like that. Okay, Ash just sucks so much that Mina dumped him and hooked up with Tails, and then 25 years later, yeah, Ash the mongoose, I don't get. I never got him, and I never liked it. But then again, I'm not a big Mina the mongoose fan, and just say this to prevent anyone from jumping down my throat about shipping and all that stuff. How can I put this? I I don't mind the Sonic characters having their girlfriends or boyfriends. The problem with was always going to be the shipping wars between fans. And during the Archie heyday, there was the Sally fans, the Amy fans, and the Mina fans. Rugal, you know this. We were caught in the middle of this. This was so goddamn stupid. But I honestly think it only got as bad as it did was because the writers got into it themselves, which they should have never done. And I'm saying this from the perspective of somebody that's setting up something else behind the scenes. As a creator, there are certain fan situations you want to avoid getting into, and one of them is, of course, shipping wars. They're going to happen, they're always going to happen, but if you have a planned relationship that you know you want to go through, just stick with it. Don't get involved in any sort of shipping wars, because that was part of the problem with the Archie comics during that era, was because they brought in writers who had their own favorite ships, and instead of just telling them to calm the fuck down with that and just write stories, regarding to the action, they were left it felt like they were left unchecked, and they were bitching among themselves over who got to bone Sonic, and as a result we got more heated arguments between Sally, Amy, and Mina. And Mina was just okay. If you don't know, Mina herself, her character design was actually recycled. She shows up a lot earlier. She shows up in issue 51, I believe, of the original Archie Sonic comic as a comrade of Sally. She, believe it or not, because there's a whole issue of Sonic 51, a side story where Sally's talking with other freedom fighters around the world, and Mina is one of them. That's how far back Mina's character design actually shows up. But bringing her in and trying to make her work as a new freedom fighter, it didn't work because they brought her in as a love interest instead of a genuine team member. And it was even worse when they gave her the whole she has Sonic speed too. That was incredibly stupid. That was incredibly stupid, and they had to scramble to find a way to explain it. That was just bad writing in general. Mina could have worked if they just brought her in as her own character and not as a peg for a love triangle. Just don't, regardless of the gender of the character, male or female, don't do that to a character, because Mina became a plot point. She wasn't a she wasn't her own character. She became a plot point in a very, very bad long string of storylines, to the point where they tried to give her a boyfriend in Ash, and Ash was a bad character, and that reflected off of her. It was so bad. And that's why you have to be careful with, if you have if you bring in a team of rotating writers, just sit them down and explain to them not to let their shipping preferences get the better of them, because that will affect writing as a whole and it will just fucking tank it. Don't give into that shit ever. Okay, let's see. Um Going back to the chat. Okay, I'll be honest. The fans who bitch how certain Sonic characters aren't like the Japanese, I'm just over with that. Yeah, I am too. I'm, I'm over that too, because I understand that it's a different depiction now, and a lot of times there's, of course, things get lost in translation, and what you can't or don't know, you have to fill in, and that happened a lot with the earlier Sonic, because a lot of times they didn't understand how characters work. They had to make new characters up on the fly, and as such, you have to fill in what you don't know, which is how we get like the different personalities between Sonic of Japan and Sonic of the West. I like both of them. I can value both of them, but people have just gotten so obsessed with the definite version that they can't see through the trees and value like what works good with both of them. But yeah, that's a whole chat for a whole different story. I totally understand not liking Mina. I'm okay with her, but she was pretty much an XP of the one character from Robotech. Which one, Minmay? I Yeah, I can see it because yeah, I really can see it looking back, because Ash acts like her creepy ass cousin fiance, the whole idolization. But the thing is, if they wanted to make Mina more like Min May, they should have just gone. I mean, eventually they did kind of in terms of giving her a band, but if they wanted to, if they really wanted to make her more like Min May, they should have made her the Min May from the beginning, and that includes making her personality a bit more. How can I say? Because Min May was a fangirl, she was a fangirl, but keep the fangirlism, but still, there was still something missing from her, because came off as too. She came off as too childish. Maybe that's not the right word for it, but yeah, if they wanted to make her the Min May, they should have taken more advantage of that, but there was something missing with it. She didn't have like the endearment, or the the endearment and the sort of like likability of Min May, if that makes any sense. She felt too, and I think that's because with Min May is already established from the start. When Mina showed up, it was like issue 76, and this was years after we had gotten so used to all the other characters, so her being placed in the way that she was, it felt intrusive. It didn't mesh well. They could have done so much better with the idea of introducing a new character, especially a new freedom fighter. But yeah, it didn't work out. Okay, let's see. Well, Archie was the creator of Archie with Betty and Veronica Love Triangle, so it shouldn't be surprised. I mean, but the thing is with the Sonic and with the Betty and Veronica and Archie love dynamic, that's played more for comedy, and that was expected for the time, because remember that had been going on for years, long before Sonic was even a creation, and it had always been a trope. But again, it was played for laughs. With the way they handled it in the comics, they were still setting it up as like a dramatic, story shattering like plot element, and it just didn't work because it took away from the action bits of what people wanted from the Sonic comic, and it was becoming so boring and drawn out. So yeah, it just sucks. It's like sometimes you don't need romance plots. All right, let's see. Going back to the chat. Dang it! Don't tell me a plot. Okay. All right. Yeah, the Mammoth Mogul plot device, that was stupid too. I hated that so much. It wasn't so much that they had to bring him in to explain why Mina had her speed, but then they used that as an excuse to why Mighty was strong. Just took me the fuck out. That was so stupid. Okay, still would take Sonic and Sally's relationship baggage and all over the weird Sally Nicole ship the reboot tried to lean into, which the comic is now suffering from. Writers some interested in that. Yeah. And the obsession with trying to make every Sonic character now be like the Japanese has done no favors for the characters. Agree that she didn't make her a bit more like Minmay. Besides, but if Veronica had lasting power, just look at Tenchi Muyo. Yeah, again, but like I said, those relationships and the triangle between those characters are played up for laughs, and it works. It works because it's a joke, and on top of that, we have Reggie as like the fourth person, and usually end up liking him with Veronica anyway. So Reggie being the fourth player in that helps, but with the whole Sonic thing, it was they never played it for laughs. That was the problem. They never played it for laughs because they were so hard on making everything serious. And when they tried to make the love triangle serious, it didn't work. It was awful, especially when they threw Amy under the bus too. It was like, what is going on? Why are you doing this? It's like, can we just go back to the adventure? Can we go back to the adventure and not give a shit about all this romantic shit? I just want to see Sonic defeating robots, defeating the big baddie of the month, and that's it. Can we please just go back to that? All right. The Captain in comic weirdly managed to handle a love triangle well with Lana and Samus. That was way before my time. I don't remember the comic, but anyway, funny how in those meta issues they made Mobian version of the Tenchi characters background. I think they yeah, actually I think I do remember what you're talking about. Didn't Fry draw that? If anyone remembers Fry, because remember artist Fry, because he was during that era. I can't remember what issue it was, but I do distinctly remember seeing characters in his style of Ryoko and Ayaka somewhere in the background. Someone correct me. It was either him or Axer. Either him or Axer. They snuck it in. Anyone remember that? Rugal, do you remember that? It's funny looking back. They figured Amy was gonna be the one-off character. Yeah, they. I mean, did we didn't know. We didn't know what was gonna happen. But of course, in Japan it was different. But in the United States, who knew, whatever. But yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Okay, still got my two. Yeah, I still have my Dawn Best panels too, Rugal. For anyone who's wondering, what Rugal and I are talking about, we both have original comic panels drawn by Dawn Best when she was still working on the Sonic comic, and I can't remember if I have the Mighty one or not, or the Vector one. But no, anyway, yeah, we still have parts of Sonic history with us. Okay, yep. Uh, anyway, yeah, getting on to our next topic. Let me check the feed. Uh, I am actually surprised that no one added to that. Come on. Sorry, having a bit of issues, technical issues right here on the reading front. Okay, what the heck? Okay, but I will always have a soft spot for Monkey Kong. Yeah, Monkey Kong was actually a really good like side character. I liked how he expanded the world of Mobius in the comics. And that's one of the things that I miss about the Archie comics back in the day is they when they had that freedom to just add on to the world, which meant adding on certain new characters. I know everything was going to be hit and miss, but sometimes they did make a character that hit just well, just perfectly. Like I will be 100% honest. I really did like the Echidna Society when it was first revealed during those Knuckles miniseries, especially with Knuckles' parents, or his father, his mother. Um, was it Commander? Was it Sergeant Remington or Commander? I don't know. I can't remember my police or my yeah the police levels or whatever. I think it was Sergeant, but Sergeant Remington and all those other characters. I know people find they're goofy, but had Ken just stuck to that, like if he had just stuck to like sort of a city world action adventure that was different from like the woodland adventure that was happening on Mobius, and the floating island could have had like a cityscape city like uh dang it, what's the word I'm looking for? Cyberpunk, not cyberpunk, fuck. Oh my god, I forgot the name of the movie. Uh Blade Runner, that's what I'm thinking about. If he could have like kept Mobius where Sonic was, like the adventures, the more woodland adventures, the floating island could have been like the Blade Runner version of that. If he could have just kept with that instead of just going down the deep end with all these other weird allegory shit, if he could have kept that going, especially when the Sonic Adventure story came into play, we could have had something perfect. We could have had a story that was stable enough to last as long as it did, but then he turned around and did all this other weird crap, like the whole thing where he finally destroyed a Canopolis, the egg grapes, him making Remington a part of the Dark Legion, all these other twists and turns. It was just like, what? How does this writing make sense? And the thing he fucked up so badly was like the familiar connection between the Dark Legion and Knuckles. So technically, Julie Sue is related to Knuckles thanks in part to that dimensional split. And it's just like, why did you have to do that? Why did you have to ruin something like that by getting so technical when you had something so cool right in front of you? Because, like I said, the Freedom Fighters could have done like their cool ass anime adventures in woodland places on Earth, while Knuckles and the Chaotix could have done it like Blade Runner style in their cityscape up there. But no, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking, but so many lost opportunities with that. Let's see. It's okay, Squid. Okay. Sergeant Remington, I think, yeah, I think it was Sergeant Remington. Like, let's see, Ken was so obsessed with trying to beat Jack Kirby badly. Remember, they were so desperate they had to have Knuckles be Inner Jack. Ugh. Ugh. How do you ruin that? How do you mess up something so well like that? Because there were so many great ideas that they had just for Knuckles alone that they didn't have to like wait for Sega to do. But then he just went crazy and fucked it up, and all of it has to do with shipping. It all has to do with shipping. God, my God. Because the kid's idiocy will never see shit. He can use. Yeah, yeah, it's so bad. It's like we have so many great echidna characters, so many good ideas, but then no. And Knuckles' little bro kneecaps too. That was okay. I'll admit that was stupid. But then again, it's like the name was stupid. Yeah, the name was stupid. More so, the name was stupid. But once you realize kind of what it meant, you kind of chill out because I like the idea. I like the idea of Knuckles' mom just like moving on with her life, and she finds somebody that actually, that she actually likes or loves and gets along with, and they start their own family. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because remember, this is like some sort of deep cut shit. Amy Rose, technically in the Archie comics, is related to Robbo the Hedge, and he gets it on with the Echidna chick there, and they have like the Echidna hedgehog baby, and I'm okay with that because that kind of shows like people are moving on. So I'm okay with the idea of Knuckles' mom just moving on with her life. But again, they just did it in like a weird, uncomfortable way. It could have worked because this is like a non-canon thing that Sega doesn't have to worry about translating into games, but they just messed it up so bad. Nipples the Echidna. Like, oh, I'm sorry, my name is Nipples the Echidna. Nurples the Echidna. Sonic the Silk. uh, they're recreating the Archie comic, Mega Man comic, so I'm excited for that. Yeah, I guess I think that helps because that didn't have all the weird baggage, and plus Capcom has a hand in that, so who knows about that. But in terms of like the original run getting reprint, who knows what sort of like legal hoops that we're gonna have to go through in order to get that. I just appreciate that we can find them, we can still find it online. Just be thankful for that. Okay, there was a random Echidna Dingo couple in the background of the couple, and then the comic. Yeah, and remember, remember the whole arc where they had the 3-issue series where Knuckles is trying to get with Julie Sue, and it's just Vector having a hots for the Swan chick. Anyone remember that? It's just like the downtimes Knuckles comic about romance, and like the big plot point was that Knuckles actually beats the crap out of Vector for for getting on him. Oh my god. Yeah, but that's shit that's going on right now. Remember when this started out as a stream talking about the Minecraft movie? But one of my old DA friends, Chibi Jin Hin, so glad she got to work on it. Yeah, I saw her panels, and yeah, I'm really glad that she got to work on it before it shit the bed. And she got to work on Mighty Sister. That was actually a really good character idea. I like the idea of Mighty Sister being a part of Robotnik's army, and he robotically augmented her to have those freaky looking arms. That was actually kind of cool and felt like a return to form that I wish that they were able to continue on, but they, like I said, they fucked the bed with so many things that most of the cool concepts and ideas that they had, they got wasted and probably we will never see again thanks to it. Oh yeah, Minecraft, lol. I had those issues and I remember the weird swan lady, and she never returned because Vector ate her. Beast complex. She also got her Jewel Crusaders into, which is cool. Okay, yeah, Minecraft. Yeah, just one last note about Minecraft. I'm still surprised that in terms of its budget, its production budget was $150 million. That's what I'm getting right now. At least this is what I'm reading right now. Snow White was 209, which I still cannot believe, but yeah, if it makes its money back, which I'm gonna guess that it's gonna make its money back in like gangbusters. It still says a lot that how these goofy Warner movies are trouncing Disney right now. But I'm gonna make a point. I'm gonna make this point again, and I said this before. I can thank both The Day the Earth Blew Up and Minecraft succeeding over Snow White because they're not trying to change or fix the IPs that they're based on. The Day the Earth Blew Up didn't try to censor or fix anything about Looney Tunes because it knew it didn't have to fix anything about them. It could improve on them. It could like just brush, add on some polish and do what it does best. It wasn't trying to fix Looney Tunes. It wasn't trying to make them safe. If anything, it was like the most craziest shit I have seen them in years. And it's the same thing with Minecraft. I don't think the Minecraft movie is trying to change Minecraft. It's not trying to censor Minecraft. The movie might not feel like Minecraft, but like I said, it's not trying to change it into something that it's not. It's not trying to improve it. Snow White was doing exactly that. Snow White was trying to act like it was better than the first movie, or that the first movie needed to change anything. If you just plop your butt down and watch the original Snow White, there's nothing story wise that needs to be changed because it's so straightforward. It's just the story of Snow White with extra bits in it that, extra bits that needed to be added to extend the runtime, but there's nothing in it that needs to be changed at all. There's nothing offensive about it at all. Like, they don't make fun of, like, if if you're gonna complain about anything that happens in Snow White that's offensive, maybe it would be that little bit where Dopey does the little Chinese face when he's messing with the drums during the dancing scene, and he pretends to use a symbol as like a Chinese hat, but it's like, that's it. What else, what other reason do you have to be pissed off at the original Snow White? Because there's nothing to be pissed off about. It's like, at this point, if you're getting that pissed off about the original Snow White movie and saying it needs to do this or that or that or that, that's more on you for putting weird expectations on a story that's meant for kids. That was, like I said from the last stream, that was essentially a tech demo. Snow White, the original, was an animation tech demo, and you're gonna bitch about that? It's like, what? Okay, the leaked unfinished version of Minecraft looks better. It probably was. I don't doubt. WD, despite everyone raging on them, has been doing surprisingly well. Snow White's producer had to tell Reachers to shut the fuck up. Please, Snow White and the Huntsman is better. Yeah, it is. It is. And it offered something new. It just did something different. It's like, if you want to see... It's... Like, people were right before. It's like, if you want to do a different Snow White, then make a different Snow White, and people have been doing that for years. It's like these new, edgier, darker Snow Whites that we've seen in the past 10 years, they're not anything new. They've been happening ever since people have been able to put pen to paper and written them. It's like, but it's just Disney being late to, ironically, their own party. So, okay, wish bombing and then Snow White eating, it has been such a hit on. Yeah, oh man, Wish. I've had so many mighty discussions about Wish that it's hilarious. It's like, Wish was just wow. It's one of those moments where, the Malcolm in the Middle meme. It's like, I expected nothing and I'm still disappointed. That's Wish in a nutshell. I don't understand. And I'm just gonna say it like this. I've been a part of the bigger discussion with Wish behind the scenes. I'm not gonna tell you with who or about, but it really did shock me how bad it was, and how bad it looked. And looking back at it, even I still don't understand how Disney thought that what they had as a final was acceptable, because it looks worse than Sophia the First. Because if there's one thing that Disney has always been iffy on in terms of like CG animation, I don't understand this. I don't understand why their television animated CGI looks so weird and so fucky when their theatrical CGI looks so great, especially when they move out of the Disney princess theatrical shit and do their more original non fairy tale stuff, and they have that freedom to do different character designs and shit. When they do that, you can see the best of Disney shine. But whatever it is about Wish, even though technically Wish is not a Disney princess movie, it's a Disney movie, but everybody calls it a Disney princess movie when it's not, because Asha, as far as I can tell, she's not a princess, but they still treat her film like a typical Disney princess film, but it's so bad. It's not just like everybody rags on the music. The music sucks. The look of it sucks. I just can't get over how boring a lot of the character designs are, because there is a Disney style. There is. And when it works, it works. But the thing that bothered me so much about King Magnifico, he's supposed to be a villain, but they tried to himbo him up so much it was distracting. He looks awful. And I like hot Yeah, and I'm not gonna deny it. I like hot looking older male characters because hey, everybody has their thing. But Magnifico is such an amalgamation of, you can tell these people that designed him, they're, oh, you can tell they got their rules from Tumblr because he looks awful. He doesn't look right. His eyes are too big. His smuggy, smirky default expression doesn't work. He They want him to look young, but also want him to look mature at the same time in a way that's not meshing correctly. And he's not he's not a good villain, and he's not a good he doesn't have a good character design either, and it just irks me so. Ugh. It irks me so much about that. Disney taking makes else. Let's see. Yeah, the failures of the MCU. I'm not getting into that because that's like a rant for a whole nother hour, and I don't want to get into that. Um, Let me think. Not let me think. Let me read. Actually, only certain people were mad at Snow White being weak in their mind. Yeah, only certain people see Snow White as weak when that's not the point. Again, they're missing the point of the film because it's not. It wasn't meant or made to be this. It wasn't made to have a message. It was made to show an art, and people just miss that. Uh, Asha from Wish gets to join the club of Disney characters that Disney keeps in storage only to bring out on certain occasions. I don't know. I guess. I mean, I keep seeing a bunch of really bad Wish. Okay, rant. Side tangent from somebody who actually does draw and does character design and does colored work. People, word of advice. I know you love making characters right now, especially black characters, as dark skinned as possible. But when you do that, you have to remember how color contrasting works. Stop putting dark skinned characters against dark backgrounds because that they blend into that. That doesn't They blend into it and it looks awful. Certain colors work well on dark skin, and for the fucking love of me, whoever is in charge of these character designs, they keep putting dark on dark on dark, and you lose the purpose of your character having dark skin because you can no longer appreciate their dark skin because you can't see it. I see this all the time when people put darker characters in like space backgrounds, but they choose like the darkest blue and the darkest browns, and it doesn't contrast at all. It looks so awful. And with Asha, she could have worked well if they made her purple a lot lighter, a lot softer, if they made her brown, her skin color a bit warmer, to make her feel approachable, to make her feel youthful, to make her feel energetic. But people tend to think that you can just pick any dark color as a skin tone and it works. But no, it doesn't work because you certain dark browns, if you don't do it right, it makes your character look inhuman. And especially if you choose cold dark browns, it makes them look ashy. But like I said, we're running on people who got their color theory education from Tumblr, and all they know is how to add gray and white to things to lighten it, and it just washes it out, and it looks awful. And it's the same with Asha. Asha, Asha, okay, to put it better, look at Tiana. Look at Tiana, and she has darker skin than Asha, believe it or not. If I measure it right, she has darker skin than Asha, but notice how she is in mint green, that lily green, that pond green. Look at it and look at how wonderful it contrasts off her skin. It looks golden. It looks more naturey. It looks like it's connected to the water, even though it's not blue, but it still has that mint lily light. It looks well. She does well with green, gold, and pink. And they choose the lighter colors for her to contrast off her skin. But with Asha, they picked a they picked a tone of both brown and purple that don't contrast well. And then because everything about Wish is about wishing stars and night, when you mix that in and put her in a night background, she bleeds into it. And like I said, whoever they hired to do all the marketing and the design for most of the merch, they did a horrible job because you can find merch with Asha in it and she looks awful. I don't know why they did that. Okay, Magnifico and the Queen were originally Asha's parents. Look up the deleted scenes to see some of the early story ideas and the character interactions. See, Squid's M Bison Fae folder. Yeah, my M Bison Fae folder. Yeah, he's joined with Fujitara, Fujitara, Tora and Jinbei right now in terms of old dudes Squid wants to fight. Okay, let's get off that joke. Let's see. They're still trying to cater to Tumblr. Look at the crappy new coffee shop Disney villain game that they tried off of Nintendo Direct. Which one? Which one? Because have I've been ignoring a lot of the Disney Nintendo games, so you're gonna have to tell me about that one, Buddy Smith. I might know it. I might know what you're talking about, but I just completely just blanked on it. They're making them so dark they look like the old little rascal jokes when Buckwheat was in the dark and you can only see his eyes. Well, you can blame that on bad film and bad transfers on that, but you really don't have an excuse now. You really don't. Let's see. And Disney will still butthurt because Treasure Planet didn't net the millions. Yeah, Treasure Planet was good though. I shouldn't have. In the early version of the story was supposed to be a princess. Well, yeah, if that's the case, it makes sense to why Wish still feels like a Disney princess movie and why she's designed like a Disney princess movie. Because if you look at Disney films and see the characters designed between like a character designed for a Disney princess movie versus a character designed for a non-Disney princess movie, you can see a lot of differences. Like the non-Disney princess movie characters have more freedom in how exaggerated their designs can be, and I appreciate that. But but with but yeah, you can tell that Wish is like it's the leftovers of so many different things that it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that's the sad part about it because a movie that was made for the 100th anniversary of Disney or whatever they were trying to celebrate it for, it should not look that bad. And if anything, it really should have been a movie about Mickey. It would have felt more cathartic if it was, because I know they have Once Upon a Studio, but that felt like such a that felt. I don't want to shit on it too much, but it just felt like such a weak attempt to act like they cared about like the anniversary, because if they really did, why didn't they do more with it, with a concept like that for an entire movie and not so much of a short? Because it didn't feel like they even cared. I don't know what they were trying to do, because Wish, we're still talking about Wish even though it's been like what, 2 years or whatever. Let's see. I know you too, Will Squid. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. The game is called Disney Villain Curse Cafe. It looks so bad. Let me check it out. Da, 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 da. Cursed, not cured. Not cured, Google. Cursed. God damn. Uh, is that Gaston? Oh my god. Why is Gaston in white? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, you're getting this in real time. I'm losing my shit over this. This is hilarious, actually. Oh my god. Buddy, I'm looking at this in real time and losing my shit. This is actually kind of hilarious, but it's. I don't fear feelings. I'm so strong I stuff them away. Yeah, that's Gaston. That's Gaston, bro. You know, Gaston's the type of villain that is so good in terms of like his usability that you kind of wish that they didn't kill him off, but then again you realize that if he didn't die there wouldn't have been a very satisfying ending. It's like Cruella de Vil gets to live, and because of that it feels more natural when she keeps popping up in different things to cause trouble because she's technically still alive and she's still like able to fuck things up for people. But yeah, it looks stupid. It does look stupid, but it feels more honest than a lot of shit that we've seen recently. And plus, Dr. Facilier. No, oh, damn it! I thought that was Dr. Facilier. Shit. No, it's Jafar. Damn it. Damn it! I thought that was Dr. Facilier. Let me check actually. Dr. Facilier. Is he in it? Nah, man. No, they got Jafar in this nice looking pimp outfit. But it's not him. It's not him. It's Jafar. Because he has the. Yeah, it's him. They have him in this nice pimp looking outfit, which would have been perfect for Facilier, but yeah. No one has feelings like Gaston. No one looks like a Tumblr reject like Gaston. He is in the game? Okay, he is. I'm currently checking this. I'm checking this live, but I'm not getting any of his new outfits. Because I see Jafar, like I said, I see Jafar in his outfit, but I'm not getting Facilier. Shit. Because all of them have really cool looking outfits. I'm gonna give them credit for that. I'm gonna give them credit. They do have really cool looking outfits. Even, even Cruella de Vil has a really nice looking outfit. The funny thing about Cruella de Vil is because her coat was so big, I couldn't judge what her actual body size was, so I'm still very shocked at how skinny she is. Because her coat makes her look bigger than she is. Okay, I'm not seeing Facilier in any of this. I am seeing plenty of Jafar, but I haven't seen Facilier yet. They showed him in one of the trailers, I think. Okay, more live reaction. I'll see if I can find. I'll try to. Okay, no, okay, good, it's muted.
Ready to.
Shit. Volume. Fuck. Oh man, I almost fucked myself over with that. Okay. Blah blah blah. Okay, I'm. Okay, I see Maleficent. I see Hook. I see Ursula. Wait, is that him? No, I see Yzma. Yzma's in this. I see. Hmm. Nah, not seeing Facilier yet. I'll just have to wait. Though, wouldn't it be funny that as an extra they put Louis in there anyway? Still. Uh. Okay, double checked. I was wrong. It was Jafar. Yeah, I mean, he looks so much like Facilier. It's unfunny. But seriously, buddy, just serious. Don't you think Facilier would look better in Jafar's outfit than Jafar looks in the outfit right now? Jafar needs something a bit more his style and his like something that feels like it would belong with Aladdin even though it'd be modern. But he looks more like Facilier than Facilier. But anyway, yeah, that and as far as like game people playing it, you're the first person that told me about this game, so no one else has been talking about it. So yeah, I don't know what the hell Disney is doing with their games. I do have the Mirrorverse art book because I was curious about it and wanted to see the character designs, and I do like the character designs they had in the Mirrorverse book, but I don't know how well Disney's doing in terms of their games because nobody ever talks about them and most of them feel like Sims anyway. And Sega Frontier okay, totally the outfit fits more fits. Yeah, I told you that's I thought it was him. I thought it was Dr. Facilier. It looks like something he would wear. and that it's his body type and everything. Uh, but yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can say, guys. Is I don't know, but that's what's going on right now. Uh, Getting back to the chat. Saga Frontier, play it. Dobson, if it wasn't for anime, I don't want to get into the Dobson drama. I'm gonna be 100% honest. Yeah, he's a jerk. He he's creepy. I knew him even before, like when back when he was on DA before he went incredibly crazy. But I honestly, he honestly really doesn't deserve any of our time because he doesn't seem capable of enjoying anything really. And even with yeah, I think that's just it. He's just not. He doesn't feel like a very nice person to be around. He takes things way too seriously. He feels entitled. That's one of the things that just kind of irks me and kind of me out about him is he still has that air of entitlement about him, and he doesn't realize that it's that type of behavior that pushes people away from him. But like I said, yeah, I don't want to give any more of my our time. So yeah, that's the last on Dobson. Okay. They've been kind of not wanting to use Facilier, can't have a black man as a villain. Well, if that's the case, then they're missing out on like one of their most popular villains they've ever made. I can bet you if they started making Facilier shit, like Facilier anything, like products, t-shirts, all that other stuff, it would sell like gangbusters. They need to stop being so pissed scared of everything and just embrace it. Cuz I mean, I'm trying to like why of all characters would you be that offended by Facilier? Just let it go because honestly, I mean, couldn't you argue that Jafar is more of an offensive stereotype than Facilier because he's like the the stereotype of a an Arab mysticist with all the other stuff, the hypnotizing powers and all that other shit, but they still embrace Jafar, so whatever. Okay, you ever play that Namco High dating sim they had a couple years ago? I love when a couple uses characters like that for fun. No, I did not. No, I did not. There is still this Namco based anime that I am looking for that I cannot remember the name of. I we when we had when we still had cable because we cut, we had an anime preview channel. And the only thing I remember about it, it was like this one guy and three women, and they were piloting this mech. I just know the guy, he was transported to the world, and he was trying to help these chicks fly this giant mech. And it wasn't an old anime series; it was current at the time. Let's say like 20. Say it was between 2013 and maybe 2016. I want to, or let's no, let's give it like 2010 to 2016. Let's put it like in that range. I know Namco made it because I remember seeing their names at the credits, but I can't remember what it is. But I just remember the end theme, and it's just like the three chicks they're singing along with the end theme in a silly way. I wish I had more information to tell you because I've been looking for the series for so long, and I just know all I can tell you is that Namco had a hand in it. It's a mecha series. Namco had a hand in it, and I just can't remember the name of it. It took them years to use Oogie Boogie, and now he's heading the. But okay, with Oogie Boogie, wasn't that more of a rights issue? Because I know Touchstone before Disney fully had their hands on The Nightmare Before Christmas, it was more of a Touchstone property, and like because of the issues between that regarding like if it was appropriate to bank on it and Tim Burton's involvement in it in terms of like whatever he was trying to do with the characters, that they only started using Oogie Boogie more because they felt more comfortable doing it with the Disney name attached to the Nightmare Before Christmas now, and so they have more of that freedom to do so. It wasn't so much about Oogie being offensive or being problematic. It was just them worrying if they had the rights to use him. I think that was the issue. Let's see. Let's see. Anything? Okay, but so far, anything else that's going on in terms of the entertainment sphere? Yeah, I know the drama about the Switch too. I I said my piece about that talking to a friend. I told him I was going to do the same thing I did with the original Switch, which was save and wait because I didn't buy the Switch first run. I didn't really have the means to it, and I wanted to wait to see what type of games were on it. And eventually, when I did buy the Switch, it was worth it because I knew that it was worth my money, and I had the games that I want to play for it. Thank you so much for that, Boneyard. But yeah, it's the same thing with the Switch too. I know it's expensive. I know it is. Everything is expensive now, which means that I have all that more time to think about it. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I still think it's worth more than buying a PS5 or an Xbox right now in terms of games because, god damn, it's just like I'd rather invest in something that I know is going to pump out games that are enjoyable, that are like patches or anything. Because during the whole life of like the PS5, I have seen nothing that has enticed me to want to buy it at all. But with the Switch, I have so many choices. It's honestly the game. It's the game console that's perfect for me. If you know me well, you'll understand why it's perfect for me. Uh, I think it was more Disney felt Nightmare was too scared for Disney's image, and when it started making money, they slowly started using the characters. I mean, yeah, I can understand that, but like I said, at the same time, they there's nothing inherently wrong with Oogie Boogie. They really can't argue anything is offensive about Oogie Boogie, and if they do, it's such a massive stretch. But with Dr. Facilier, censors have an easier time claiming he's offensive, which is why we're in a situation like that. Even though we as fans don't have a problem with them, and mostly normal people don't have problems with them either. It's just the crazy censor people that keep doing this shit. Was the anime called Birdie Wing? Actually, let me check it out. Uh, nope, it wasn't Birdie Wing. Actually, the second one might be it. Let me check because that sounds familiar. It sounds like it might be it. Uh, Let me check. If this no, 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 don't. No, it's not that either. No, it's not it either. Sorry, it's not. I will be forever cursed to just list off the small parts of what that anime was about and have no idea what it is. Oogie Boogie was voiced by Ken Page, who was black and he loved the character. I had no issues with him, so that's why none of the accusations are. Like I said, they really. Another reason why is they really can't find anything to bitch about. I mean, if anything, they'll try to say, like, he's bad because he gambles, but he's a villain, so it really shouldn't matter anyway. But yeah. Okay, let me try Star Driver. Uh, you're watching in real time, folks. Friends are trying to help me find a lost anime in real time. Or lost to me, anyway. Uh, no, that's not it either. Okay, the character designs look more less stylized, less anime stylized. I'm gonna put it like that. And the female characters were a lot more voluptuous. No, it wasn't Full Metal Panic. I know it wasn't that. Captain Earth. But no. No, I don't think that was it either. No, it wasn't it either. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it wasn't Captain Earth either. I looked up Captain Earth and gave me Captain Planet instead. But no, that's so far that's thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy, for giving me all these suggestions. But no, so far, no, that's it. We talked about the Switch news. There's really nothing coming up in terms of like movies that I actually want to hear about. The only movie that I know that is coming out within the next year or two is the Mario movie. I only care about the Mario movie sequel coming out. I know they're talking about the Zelda movie, but any other movie outside of that is like, yeah, not really interested. They kind of they burnt out the hype. They burnt out the hype for everything by just promising way too much, either failing to deliver it in a good quality or at all, and this is where we are right now. But like I said, there are a lot of people that know how to do it better, and I think we just need to start giving them more credit than the people who just bitch and scream for attention. So yeah, just support the guys that just love to do what they do. But other than that, we have been going on for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I think right now that is enough. It is late where I am, and it's probably late where you are right now. So I'm going to thank everybody for coming in, and we're gonna run. We're gonna wind this one down, folks. So thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for listening to the stream. I hope more people come in once we have something else to talk about. But thank y'all, and good night.